All right. Apologies to those watching online. We are back online. Yeah, Tessa, feel free to pick up where you left off. So sorry. Yeah.
If you move on, please, Jonathan. Yes, thank you. Yes. So I'll continue talking a little bit more in depth about the commentary we received from submitters. Overall, 716 submitters provided comments and 227 did not, so they just answered the multiple choice questions, but didn't go any further. Of those that didn't provide comments, all but one were supportive of the current frequency and operating hours. We had a very large number of comments that expressed generally positive sentiments about Kite Rock, the mast, and the lights specifically. Those themes that were covered there were quite broad and quite nuanced. So some people differentiated between the mast and the lights, others treated it as one structure. Many people talked about what the lights personally mean to them and the community. Being an icon to Sumner, would have read those submissions. We had also had many comments on the historical heritage of maritime values to Sumner. What we did was provide the history on it. Maria covered that earlier on that, but we didn't go into detail of looking at the different interpretations people gave to those history and maritime values. But those are all things that came up in many of the comments. Looking more specifically on those tangible impacts that people raised, if you bring up the next, please. There were key themes that came up from submitters that they either liked or felt comfortable with. Again, this is at a really high level. The wording submitters used varied, but we heard from some people that they didn't feel the configuration had a religious connotation. We heard from some that they felt comfortable with it having a religious connotation. And then there were also some more tangible, wider benefits that people identified. So saying it's illuminating the area and creating that sense of safety, brightness was comfortable for some, given the presence of other lights in the area. It was identified as an attraction for visitors, some enjoyment to them, and helping with navigation of the water and on land as well. Then a smaller number expressed the significance of memorial of remembering lives lost. Now, on the other hand, we heard from people on place on aspects, and sorry, I should preface this. So those themes are across all submitters. They are not necessarily specific to their preference when it comes to configuration and hours. It's a bit more nuanced. So just to give you an example, on the first remark there, the configuration being religious and inappropriate on a public landmark, this includes some people who were comfortable with the schedule, but just not with the configuration. We heard some of these other things as well, the potential of the light pollution that people perceive of it causing issues to wildlife and human health, as well as just distracting from the environment, particularly the views on a daily basis of the landscape and the night sky. We had a few comments on the configuration not being aligned with the 1930s configuration, and the defaulter being a religious Christian organization. We also had a few comments on the cultural significance. You would have seen in the report that very early on staff engaged through our treaties team and KT to see what their views were. Yes, so that's sort of the key aspects that we really pulled out in terms of those more tangible benefits and positive impacts and negative impacts. If you move on, please. In relation to that, a few submitters made specific requests for change. So there were 161 that asked for a change to the lighting configuration to highlight the mast and remove perceived religious symbolism. How that could be done varied in terms of ideas from submitters. There are here some technical considerations there. Staff recommendation. Another group requested that the lights, when turned on, are only on public holidays, so going back to what the deed life organization was. And as I mentioned earlier, there were a few people who specifically felt they wanted the lights removed entirely, and fewer wanted to remove the brightness. On the flip side of that, we also had a smaller number of 80s that had stated that they would prefer no changes to any of it to be made.
Oh, sorry.
The recommendation that we've made is based on some preliminary discussions with the depot. And as you'll see, there are a number of different options through the report. So some of the risks we're facing is that no matter whether we change it, we don't change it, there'll be someone that's dissatisfied. We've had such a vast variation of different opinions from the community, and we thank them for their time to tell us about their feelings about the matters. So there's also probably some risks in regards to accessing the top of the mast. It's quite high. It is a rock, a difficult location to actually carry out that work. And there's also a risk that increasing lighting, although the lux levels would stay the same, it would be perceived as being brighter. We have, legally, we can alter the agreement, but the deed with the agreement from both parties. Both parties have to agree to that. And either party can give written notification to end the deed. The decision the decision is assessed as a medium significance, basically because it's for the local, it's a local community interest, and it is consistent with council plans and policies. In regards to heritage, extending or changing the mast lighting could improve it historically. Its historical accuracy with minimal impact, and it would reflect the evolving community feel and of history. So the board today is faced with some options. They can do nothing. They could do a variation or iteration of what we have presented in regards to frequency. And the other end of the spectrum is they could end the deed. Any questions?
I'm sure we'll have a few. Yeah, and then, well,
Just, I guess before we move on to the kind of substance, right? I would like to ask a question. Obviously, we had a deputation, which has raised concerns about the, I guess, legal robustness of us making a decision to meet. I would really appreciate commentary from council from a legal perspective as to whether, in your legal opinion, we are in a position to go ahead and make a decision tonight.
Well, I'll introduce myself again. I'm Ron Lee, and I'm the manager of the public regulatory and litigation team with the City Council. I've probably met some of you when I came to with that some months ago. So the requirements are set out of decision making is set out in the Local Government Act from section 76 to 82. So we have to, under section 76, you're required to comply. I'm sorry, this is reasonably technical.
Go for it.
So you're required to comply with section 78, 77 and 78. And 77 is requirements in relation to decisions. The local authority must, in the course of the decision-making process, seek to identify all reasonable and practical options for achievement of the objectives of the decision. So you've obviously got the various options that have been put forward, and they have to be, the options have to be assessed in terms of the advantages and disadvantages. And that's what, yeah, as I understand it in the report. Then if the community views in relation to the decision, the local authority must, in the course of this decision-making process in relation to a matter, give consideration to the views and preferences of persons likely to be affected by or have an interest in the matter. Yes, that's in terms of views and preferences. But then it goes on to section 79, compliance with the procedures in relation to decisions. So under this section, council has a discretion as to how it exercises that, and that's determined by the significance of the decision. So in coming to that decision, you have to look at the extent to which the different options are identified and assessed, the degree to which the benefits and costs are quantified, and the extent and detail of the information to be considered. And then, but most importantly, it goes on, in making the judgments under section 1, a local authority must have regard to the significance of all relevant matters and to addition to the principles in section 14, which then goes on to section 10, which is the well-beings, which the social, economic, etc. So and so, but in addition to that, the nature and circumstances of the decision referred to in 2C include the extent to which the nature of the decision or the circumstances in which the decision is taken allow the local authority scope and opportunity to consider a range of options or the views and preferences of other persons. So that's the important thing. It doesn't say anywhere in the legislation that it's majority. You can look at a whole lot of, you've got to look at a whole lot of things in terms of the economics, etc. and making the decision.
Just very quickly, and do nothing remains on the table.
Absolutely. You've got, as I understand, you've got your 3 options in the report. You've got a justification, but if you can, in terms of coming, you can exercise your discretion, and in exercising that discretion, you prefer one of the 3 options, that's up to you.
Thank you. No, that's very, very helpful.
I get Will and then Mel.
I think Keir just put my question there at the last minute, but unless I've misread it, is there actually an option that's completely keep status quo? It's there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mel.
That's it.
So from the recommendations, is it correct that today is not the final decision in any case, even if we were to, we'll make a decision today, but there won't be the final decision out of the deed. And is that correct based on the recommendation 4?
Are you talking about how it's the resolution is for staff to negotiate?
Is that today the community board would give direction to staff on what to then negotiate with the deed holder, and then that would then come back after negotiations to the board to then make a final decision. Is that correct?
It's not the recommendation.
Yeah.
Right. So if we were to make a decision today, staff for them to go and negotiate with the deed holder and say that did not come to an agreed outcome, what would then occur?
You've got your options under the agreement, or you can go back to do nothing or the other options.
Okay.
So, sorry to follow up.
Did that answer your
Does that
question?
mean that could then go around through this process again? So we go through a second round of negotiation and then we come back to the board again. Is that correct?
Staff have, at this point in time, we have negotiated to a certain degree with the debt holder, and that covers point A and B, but not C. So, for example, if the board chose just to go with A and B, we would go back to the deed holder and put that in writing in the deed.
Took them off the table.
Sorry, we can't have any commentary from gallery. Yeah.
So,
Does that answer your question, Mel?
no, so
Okay.
if we were to agree to C or some other variation to apply the configuration, and then that was taken to be negotiated with the deed holder and they disagreed,
We would put back and is that we have not been able to form an agreement. So then you will likely, correct me if I get this wrong, you were likely to end up with two options, either to end the deed or to do nothing.
That's correct.
Right,
Thank you.
okay.
Just in terms of the deed that was signed in 2020 by staff, when is the next renewal of that? When will that get, you know, if the normal process just followed, the status quo did carry forward, when will the deed holder?
There is, from my recollection of the document, there is no provision. There is only the termination provision. There's no, it goes forever until such time as
Right.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Done.
Yeah, to my mind, and I just want to thank all the submitters, it's been huge, so thank you, and it's, I mean, I think having over 900, we've only had that on Summit Road, but we got some from America, so they obviously knew the community really well. I see that the first 2 hours of frequency, I don't see that as an issue because as described by someone, that the super majority is over 75%. So we've got 84% quite happy with this, supporting the current frequency. And if you include the 118 who wanted an extension, you've got 85% supporting the current hours. So I don't think there's any discussion there. You go out to consult. We've had some really clear and seriously good numbers on those two issues. So I think for me, I'd be quite happy to put that forward in a recommendation from the board. Where I do fall over though is I would like, and you can all shoot me down or whatever, but I do think that I'd like the staff to go back to negotiate with the deed holder. Two things. One is, which is new to me, and Tim, thank you for the information, the lights. You know, we talk about dark sky and nature, etc. The Coastal Pathway project is negotiated and brought in specialist consultation with consultants to talk about the nature-friendly dark sky lighting for the Coastal Pathway. So could you go back to them and talk with them about the type of lights, because that would negate both the dark sky issue and also the possible harm that has to penguins and other nature. So that sort of says a no-brainer as well, go forward. But the final one, and this will be the tricky one, to discuss and negotiate with the deed holder to see if they're open to looking at the configuration. Whatever that is, however that's done, may not go anywhere, it may reach something, but I'd be happy for that to happen. But for me, the first two are without question. We've asked for consultation. They've both been very, very clear. I think the lights, the type of light is really, really important and would show respect for the environment and all those involved. And the final one, obviously, is going to be a tricky one. That's my 10 cents.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to. Well,
Is it?
well, I could put this forward if there was.
You were just foreshadowing a motion.
Yes,
Yeah.
There you go, foreshadowing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then these are just like factual issues for my decision, not my curiosity. The first one is we obviously have had some corridor about the impact on wildlife, particularly the little blue penguins. I was wondering whether there's any whether we have any kind of hard evidence, or if there's been any technical reports or ecological information on that, or if there's anything concrete there.
I would need to refer them to a specialist.
I mean, there's nothing one way or another on the table at the moment, so it's that tricky. I guess the other question, and this is like slightly more purely around, I guess, the heritage aspect of it. And these kind of issues, I think, sometimes can help to split them up and get a lot from the community. It's been awesome hearing views both sides, and people really passionate, really positive actually about something, which is awesome. What I was curious about is from a purely heritage perspective, would there be a preferred outcome, or could you comment on that? Because I think I'm interested in that.
the information within the narrative team is that something something that represents the maritime mask would be a preference. But in saying that it's an evolving community, evolving largely over time, so they really strong.
No, that's really.
Do you have any other questions, Keir or Tim?
Yeah, a question for you. I was on the community board that approved this, of the Limwood Central Heathcote Community Board. And I haven't looked back at the records or got the records of what was presented to us at the time. But I do recall when I saw the lights up and them being in the shape of a Christian cross, feeling quite shocked that I felt that that was not what I thought was being approved. I may have been mistaken. I may have not read things properly. Have you looked back at what was presented to the board at the time?
What do you mean for a decision?
And yeah, when the board made its previous decision, have you looked at the information then? Because I'm just curious in a sense to know whether I've been mistaken about what was being asked.
I understand that there was a presentation by the digital
Yes.
the rights, but we had not on looking at where a decision was made, we had not found that received necessary community board approval.
Oh, right. Okay. Thank you.
Which is why we're here today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any other questions from the board? No. Tim, did you want to move your?
Yeah.
So can you just clarify again what your?
So for the three areas that we're looking at, the hours and the frequency, I think are done deal for me, because they go down into that area of super majority in the 85% of around there. So more than 75. So I think that those two areas have been well and truly covered by a good consultation. So thank you very much. That's, for me, is very clear. The third one, the configuration, and actually there's four. So the third one is the lights. And I think with the concern of the lights and the technology which the Coastal Pathway project are working with, I think we can save some money and achieve a lot more if the council staff and the deed holders work with that group to look at the lighting that they're using that is both friendly to the natural environment and support the night sky type projects, and also nature. So the natural environment, like the penguins, for instance, and overflow to the surrounding areas, whether it be urban or to the sky. So that would be a good start there. The fourth one is negotiate with the deed holder and just discuss in good faith, looking at the configuration and if they are willing to make any changes to that. So
just to play that back, Tim, just to make sure I understand that.
I'm trying to be as difficult as possible.
Yeah. No, you're doing really well. So you're basically, you want to move the staff motion with the changes of removing part A, 1A. Have you got it on the screen? Oh, yeah.
I've got it behind you, so can I just reiterate what you've asked for, Tim? So
Oh, yeah, you do that. You do that. Yeah.
So Tim, you've said that A and B are fine, but you'd like an
No, removed, because I think from the consultation, it is very clear that people are supporting the current frequency and supporting the current hours.
But B doesn't apply.
That would be the Matariki public holiday. That would be hours.
It will be lit during Matariki.
Technically, that's current.
Yeah.
So that
No change.
No.
So 85% is.
No, it's not at the moment.
No,
It's not.
So
Can we clarify that? Yes, that's a good question. Let's clarify that. Yeah.
It's 2 week prior and on Matariki Day.
So currently,
But currently
So-
the last 2 to 3 years it has been.
so the wording is supporting current hours. So therefore, that would fall into that.
So yeah. So just to clarify, B if B was to pass, that would reflect current hours.
Which includes turning off around.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So that's, right.
Like that also further clarify that is that what this will do is it means that it is written into the deeds formally.
So it's
At this point, it's
It's variation.
It's
to the
form-
deeds.
yeah.
So, what's happening now will be put in the deed as a variation.
Yeah, so yes, so 85% actually get that.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm reading into this, because that's what's currently happening at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how we've raised it in the consultation document as well, that we said what's currently happening, although that is on a voluntary basis, not specifically written in the deed, but the lights are turned off during Matariki.
Yeah.
And so the question was phrased that way, that people gave an indication that they would like to keep those hours on that basis.
Okay, cool, thank you. And also just to say, all of this is hedged with an asterisk, which is pending negotiations with the deed holder, but we're just going to remember that in the background to save ourselves repeating it over and over again.
Does that lock those hours in forever, or does it leave it open for further discussion at in the future by the community?
I'd say lock it up.
I'd say lock it in, Tim, unless you want to come back.
We're going out and consult again, because it's been overwhelming.
Yeah.
That's
So-
where the line comes out of it.
So B would, so what you're saying, Tim, is B would remain because that's reflecting the current.
That's during the week, right?
But to recall what Maria said, it's not in the deed at the moment.
So she's like, it has-
This clarifies at the deed. Can you reiterate what the deed states at the moment, Maria?
At this point in time, for the last couple of years, the deed holder has voluntarily turned off the lights the week prior and rekept.
Right.
So she made this formally agreed, we need to do a variation to the deed so that it continues to happen.
which 85% of those that have been submitting have said they're fine with.
Yeah.
That's fine, follow it. So,
Yeah.
right.
Yes, which means B would stay in.
Yes, so B stays in.
Yeah.
B's back.
Okay,
Yeah.
right.
So then just to
Oh, sorry.
start with A, so then
Leave the others as they are, we're not amending them, because 85% of the public that have submitted on this have said that's actually fine. So A's gone,
so then you have this question about
the
the
light.
types of lights.
Yeah.
So can council staff discuss with the deed holders the types of light, and hopefully work in with the coastal pathway group for the lights that they are investigating, that are I guess dark sky friendly and nature friendly. So whatever those are, whatever they are, I'm not an expert in lighting, believe it or not, but I know that the coastal pathway group are looking at those, and I think that would neutralise the concerns that people have with the types of lights.
Just, so something like explore options with the deed holder.
Explore natural, more nature friendly lighting.
Yeah.
Something on those lines.
So just, if you,
Along the lines of the coastal pathway investigating, those projects investigating.
all we'll do is if you just chuck in like a rough dash and a rough kind of information, just do a bit of repagem and do a bit of wordsmith. So Mel,
I wanted to
is this a question?
what their comment is on this one about the types of lights. Is there any other type of light you could have?
This is something we haven't looked at,
Yeah.
so that we can have to research. If someone's got some information.
Tim and then Roy and then Lee.
Yeah, just to give a bit more background on that, because I'm also involved in the Coastal Pathway project. The lighting that they've had talks about lighting with the bird specialists and the like, but the lights they're looking at having are much more subdued than these. Well, it would certainly be worth asking the question, but I'm not sure that you may come up with an answer, but I wouldn't guarantee it. Okay, good answer.
So we'll keep it
Keep it soft.
language, yeah.
So can I just explore types of light?
That are ecologically friendly.
Along the lines of the coastal, look at what the coastal pathway but project are looking at. So ecologically friendly types.
So that captures the essence.
Yes.
We'll wordsmith it later.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? So is this and this is Tim almost, but is the point of looking at the types of lights to decrease the brightness?
No, it's to use ones that are less disturbing to nature.
So different wavelengths or something?
Different wavelengths and things
Right,
that people worry about.
So, yeah, if you say that, yeah, that's
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So those two changes, is that essentially your
And is this to replace the existing lights?
amended resolution, Tim?
Extend or reduce the light size. I think, I don't even think we need to extend or reduce, negotiate with the deed holder configuration of the lights.
I think that's more or less what that's.
I like that.
Yeah,
I'm happy with that.
yeah, I'm very happy with C. Yeah. Okay, so Tim, you're moving.
Yep.
I'll second.
Tim is
speak
also
to that.
seconding.
I'll speak to that.
Tim, yep. So we'll move to discussion, and as mover kick us off.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
I just want to thank the submitters. It's over 900, which is very, very good. So thank you all. Yeah, I don't want to say anything else. I think this is a pragmatic solution moving forward, and hopefully we will. So thank you.
Yeah, this one, of course, was a very important issue to look at carefully and thoughtfully, which I did. I read every one of the submissions on it, all many hundreds of them. I must admit that at a certain stage you reach a pattern where it almost looks as though there's I guess an organisational reach out. That may or may not be true. I don't know. I don't know if that's true. However, there were very strong opinions about the configuration of the lighting, and I am in agreement with those who stated that it is inappropriate on council land to have a strong Christian or any other religious symbol. We live in a multicultural, multi-faith society nowadays, and it's not about offending others. It's about not creating precedent that would end off with all sorts of symbols all over the place on council land. So I strongly support the lights being there. I strongly support them representing the original purpose, the shape of the mast and the early version of the lights that are there. But I do think it is inappropriate for them to look so directly like a Christian cross. And I say that having spent many years following the teachings of Christ, which I still do, and attending churches.
Any other comments from the board? Yeah, I'd just like to, I guess.
And it hasn't been easy, this, by the way.
No, yeah, thank you, Tim. That's it, yeah. I'd like to summarise as well. And I want to first, Roy, you want something to say?
Yeah.
I'll go after you then. You go. Yeah.
I want to say something.
Oh, well, in that case, everyone might as well go. Yeah, go for it, Roy.
Yeah, it's awesome to see the passion, and there's a lot of submitters, and but yeah, it's overwhelming, just the majority are keeping it the same, and keeping the configuration the same, because they've changed the configuration into like the star. Someone will be saying it's taking away from the stars. He's always going to run into problems. Yeah, the overwhelming majority, 85%, are happy with the status quo, and even changing the types of lights. Then you're going to have to change the types of lights on all the other buildings. There's always going to be some problems. It's going to cost nothing to keep it the status quo. So that's my opinion. Just keep it the same. People are happy. 85% of the people are happy.
Yeah, look, I'll echo what Roy said, but I'm not looking for any applause.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, 85% majority there, pretty resounding, and then 72 not wanting to change. But look, if the lights do need to be changed, look at what I understand, the penguins do quite like what's left of Shag Rock. But if the lights are to be tweaked, look, I'm happy to come down with the dippers and jump in that water, Leslie. I'm there.
The penguins are down there in Shag Rock.
No, I know. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying, Shag Rock. But anyway, look, I'm happy to come and help us with that fundraising if we do change the frequency of the lights. I will be dipping with you, Leslie, post listening to sport radio. So thank you.
Thank you, Will. Yeah, so I'd like to thank staff for the work they've done here. It's a bit of a thankless task sometimes with these kind of consultations, with a level of emotion and passion on both sides, both of which come from very valid, very different but valid places. And I think, yeah, I really appreciate the amount of information we've been provided with that's helped us to make a good decision. And I also appreciate especially the community that have come out to speak to the board. I do want to reiterate that point that, you know, that submissions, they're not a referendum. There's a reason we don't do governance by referendum, and it's because it doesn't work. But I think in this case, the level of community support is really, really obvious. And I think that, you know, I agree with Tim's amendments to the resolution. I think that strikes a good balance between staff recommendation and what community want in terms of, you know, we had really clear messaging around meeting those hours. I'm really glad that it's already the case that those lights are turned off at Matariki. I think that's a really special. The council's done other things in other ways to try and keep the sky dark at Matariki time, and I think that's really fantastic. The deed holders already proactively turning lights off at that time of the year. I guess I say this as someone who was born and raised a Baptist, and not to the extent of the dippers, but I also think it's really important that we don't, as a local government for everybody in the city, that we don't endorse particular religious symbology, whether that's intentional or not. So for me, changing the configuration to reflect a more historical maritime symbol is something that's like Tim, I think that's really important as well. And for those reasons, I'll be supporting the motion that you presented, Tim. So we'll call for a vote. Unless there's any other.
Can we reflect on the resolution?
The
board is very clear what it's voting on.
We've got very informal language there, but I hope that captures the spirit. We'll wordsmith it after this. Essentially, that's the staff recommendation as written, striking out 3.A and adding in what will, I guess, become D, to explore additional kinds of lights that will be more friendly to the local ecology. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you can add some more, you can finish off.
Just with regards to the last point there, I'm not preempting anything with regards to the deed holder or ourselves. It's really just to have a discussion and lead them to it. And hopefully they can find something that is agreeable to both parties, and let's see where it happens. But I think this has got rid of all that other junk that we've been talking about, because there's obviously overwhelming support for it. So let's get down to the nuts and bolts, which is one issue, and let's hope the deed holder and the council come up with an agreed solution, and then we'll go to the board. So that's all I'm saying.
I think we'll capture this. So just one other thing, and if this is okay with the mover and the seconder, to amend, to add in a clause around like a time frame for staff to come back to us, maybe like 6 months or something. Is that we often do that for resolution?
Yeah, the current staff recommendation to report back to the board, but it's the time frame.
6 months, yeah.
I think it's the community wants to move forward.
Yes, yeah, we don't want this forever.
In 6 months.
6 months, yeah. Which is, that's like 6 days in local government time.
Yeah.
So, and then that time frame for the report back.
Yep.
The first one has been deleted.
Yep.
Matariki remains.
Yep.
explore ecologically friendly types of lights.
To be wordsmithed.
Any,
Yep,
Yeah, there's,
I think the board's happy.
Yeah.
Yep.
extended reduce, and in the 6 month time frame. Rather than
All those in favour?
I,
Aye. Against? Abstentions? Carried. All right, thank you very much, everybody. We'll adjourn the meeting there for another few minutes.
Oh, is it? There's need to.
Oh, so we're not doing that one.
oh, yeah.
Whakatake te hau ki te uru, whakatake te hau ki te tonga, kia mā kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai, e ki aki ana te atakura, e tio, e huka, e hau, tihei,
Thank you very much.